Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Before the Harvest. My name is Madison Myers, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Ryan Hurley from Litix Legal. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's just get into it. Can you just briefly introduce yourself, your background, and your company?
Yeah, so I'm a practicing attorney, going on 20 years now. I've had a bit of an odd legal career. I started off doing water, environmental, and land use and zoning, and then I represented the solar energy industry for a while. And then for a good long stretch, I represented the legal cannabis industry. And then recently I went out on my own to launch Litix Legal, which is a new type of law firm that is trying to use tech and AI and automation to give people flat fees instead of hourly billing.
Wow, very cool. So what made you get into law? I know right before we jumped on the podcast, you mentioned how you tried to be an actor and you ended up going to law school, but why did you choose law school in the first place?
Yeah, my dad was an attorney. I have a lot of attorneys in my family. Back when I was growing up, LA Law was really big, and I loved that show. And, it seemed very glamorous. And, of course, I idolized my dad. And I definitely didn't want to study any more chemistry or math than I had to do for my environmental science undergrad. And it seemed like a kind of a natural fit. But law school was great. It's great education, really teaches you a lot. But it doesn't really teach you how to be a lawyer. And the business of law is very different, and it can be very challenging. I've been fortunate to be able to work on things that I really care about, and that's when I'm happiest.
And that was going to be my follow-up question is you've done a lot of work in law, specifically when it comes to the environment and sustainability. So what made you get into that aspect of law when there's so many different fields to go into?
Yeah, I always really, cared about the environment. I sometimes the closest I felt to God was in nature. I like to ski and bike, and it was very interesting. I was an environmental science undergrad major.
Oh, okay.
And so that definitely
that
kind of tapped me in that direction. And I had some really great classes at the end of my undergrad in the Department of Ag at U of A, soil and water focus, where we looked at, farming and the All-American Canal and how water and how it's all interconnected. And it really, really is the anchor to how we can all live here. Yeah. So I found it fascinating.
Very cool. Can you tell me about a particular case or project you worked on as an environmental lawyer that really stuck out to you as something that was super important, that you really valued the work that you were doing and the impact it was going to have?
Yeah, for sure. So back in, I guess this would have been 2009. There were pretty good incentives for solar energy in Arizona, but the adoption rate was still really low, particularly for rooftop solar. There were some federal incentives, the tax credit that got put in place, but it was still really expensive. I mean, you still had to be able to shell out 30, 40 grand in cash to get the system. And then a company out of California called Solar City pioneered solar leasing. So that you didn't have to front the cash. They would front the cash, put it on your roof. But it was unclear whether they could do that in Arizona without being regulated like a utility. Because the Constitution in Arizona says if you're selling electricity, you're regulated like a utility. So we took that case up to the Corporation Commission. We got a favorable ruling that says, no, they're leasing panels, they're not selling electricity. That really enabled that model to spread throughout Arizona and put a lot of solar on people's rooftops.
That's so interesting because I remember, I'm born and raised in Arizona. I remember my parents getting solar panels and they still have those panels on their house through a leasing company. That's awesome. Like that. So that's a really cool connection. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people think about is all the legality that you have to really study and work at in order to make all these environmental and sustainable practices real and for a lot of Americans.
Yeah, it's nice to have goals and ideals, but if they're not, if you're not doing the practical work, or if you're not figuring out how to compromise with other other ideas and mindsets and making sure that it's economical for folks, then it stays as an idea. So you really got to get down in the trenches and try to make it work.
Wow, that was really fascinating. I had no idea about that. And I just I've always grown up like having solar panels on my house. So it's fascinating to think about everything else that goes into making that possible. Can you kind of talk a little bit about why you created your own law company after doing all this environmental work? What made you want to start out on your own?
Yeah, so I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur at heart and like changing things for the better. The business of law has a lot of problems. People have a very negative perception of lawyers. The hourly rates are really out of reach for most people, and it's just getting worse. And the life of a lawyer trying to meet those hourly requirements at their firm, there's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of substance abuse. There's a lot of personal problems, and it's really just unsustainable. The good news is that there's a confluence of things happening right now that allow us to change that. And one of those is AI and the tech that's allowing us to really automate a lot of the basic kind of admin and lower level work, not replacing lawyers. And then the other piece is Arizona Bar passed a rule change a couple of years ago that allow lawyers to be equity partners with non-lawyers. So we can raise money for investment. We can be partners with like a CFO or a tech person that we couldn't do that before. So it's really a huge opportunity to reimagine the business of law and make it more efficient and make it a better place for lawyers and clients.
Yeah, that's great. That's so cool that you're doing all that work. And again, I think a lot of people like fear AI, but being able to incorporate it to help benefit the public is something that people don't talk about a lot because there's a lot more concerns than there are benefits, I guess, that's what people perceive. So that's very fascinating. You kind of mentioned how there's a lot of problems with law and about like the negative perception and the burnout rate. Where do you see in the future, how do you see solving those issues?
I think we need to get away from the billable hour model because it creates a lot of misalignments, right? As a lawyer, if I'm billing for my time by the hour, my incentives are not aligned with my clients. So the longer things go, the more problems there are, the more money I make. And, there's plenty of people out there doing that ethically, but it still creates a misalignment. And and in order to make that work, you have this sort of pyramid structure of partners up here supported by a whole bunch of lawyers and support underneath. And there's really no reason that needs to be the case anymore, given the tech and given the ability to change the business model with the rule change here. So we can really completely reimagine that and get away from that billable hour so that we're focused on client results and not billable time.
Very interesting and very important. So we're probably gonna have some college students watching this who are interested in law. And how would you advise them when it comes to picking their direction in law? Because I know coming out of law school is kind of like med school. There's a lot of different routes you can go down. There's a lot of different types of law. So how did you figure out what you want to do, and what advice would you give to other people when it comes to figuring out what type of law they want to do? Yeah,
that's a tough one because I definitely thought I was going to be like a plaintiff's litigator when I was in law school, and then I did a summer clerkship, a summer internship at a litigation defense firm, and it definitely did not resonate with me. I would say, first of all, come out with as little debt as you possibly can, because what happens is a lot of times people will just take the highest paying job they can because they've got an enormous amount of debt and they've been in school for several years and they want to pay that off. And that's kind of what I did to an extent. But you really won't know what you want to do in law school, and like what you want to do will likely change. But I would say be practical about it. Do something that is going to fit your lifestyle and isn't going to burn you out, and realize that that cush firm job with that giant salary comes with other problems, right?
Yep. Very cool. So before we leave off, where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
So www.litixlegal, LITIX legal.com. We're on Instagram. I've got some cool blog posts up there and LinkedIn and Facebook. So please give us a shot. And if anybody needs a free consult, you can book right on our website and talk to me for free for half an hour.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of our audience members, for watching this episode of Before the Harvest. Be sure to check out the full podcast recording with Mike McMahon on our main channel. And be sure to like and subscribe and share and comment down below on who else you would like to see come on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you.
This was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Great. Perfect.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.